Welcome to Real Chat with Kat, the podcast that's all about real conversations for real transformation. I'm your host, Kat Pulcinelli, professional speaker, MC, and best-selling international author. Here, we tackle the tough stuff, the mud that we all have found ourselves in. We talk about the pivots, the challenges, and the victories that shape our lives and our businesses. From overcoming trauma and finding your voice to navigating life's unexpected twists, we get raw, honest, and open. You'll hear from inspiring guests who share their stories of resilience, healing, and growth. Whether it's breaking through emotional abuse, embracing self-worth, or thriving in entrepreneurship, you'll find connection, empowerment, and the tools to keep you moving forward. So grab your favorite drink, settle in, and get ready for stories that hit home and conversations that make a difference. Let's get real together. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me today on this episode of Real Chat with Kat. I am so excited to have you here with me today, and I have a really awesome guest. I'm so excited, you guys. I feel like this has been put on hold, and I was like, I'm totally jumping you forward. So I'm so excited I have Deanna as a part of the podcast today. So thank you so much for joining me today, Deanna.
Thank you for inviting me. Looking forward to chatting with you.
I'm so excited. I'm ready to hear all of your wisdom and knowledge. So as we go ahead and dive in, then please do us all a favor and tell everybody who you are, what it is that you do, and what got you into this space.
Sure. So my name is Deanna Russo, and I am a LinkedIn strategist, LinkedIn trainer, LinkedIn coach. And basically, it all started in 2008 when I got started on LinkedIn, but 2018 is when it really kicked in because I was in a sales position and that company wanted me to use LinkedIn in order to bring in new business. And so I said, well, I have this profile. Let's see how this all works. And they said, well, how about you come up with a script and you write it and you put it in the direct messages and put it in emails and I did it for a matter of weeks before I was like, these people don't know me. These people don't like me. And these people don't trust me. And so why would they spend all of their money with me and my company if I hadn't earned that know, like, and trust? And so I stopped and I started creating content on LinkedIn and I started having conversations on LinkedIn. And I started paying attention to my profile on LinkedIn, and it was all about know, like, and trust. And so I developed that strategy for me. And now I actually teach people because that strategy helped me grow on the platform from 400 to 30,000. And yeah, now I teach people that it's all about what you say in your profile and the conversations you have in the comments and the content that you're putting out with your megaphone.
30,000. That is crazy. I mean, congratulations.
Thank you.
That is a huge jump. And I love this so much because I feel like in me personally, that when I first got into the entrepreneurial space, even when I was in real estate, LinkedIn to me didn't really feel like the place to be. I always saw LinkedIn as like the corporate platform, right? Like that's where you put your resume, that's how you got a job. And what's been really interesting, even over the last 5 years that I've been in it, is the transition that we're starting to see with the way that people conversate, the types of posts that they put up, the way that they are connecting with each other. And personally, I feel like LinkedIn kind of has like this really unique business and personal feel to it. A lot more people tend to comment on things. They have a little bit more of a conversation where, Facebook originally was kind of like the, know everybody and be friends with people across the globe that you couldn't be friends with. So like, your emoji buttons were kind of like the thing. And while I still see that I get comments and things on Facebook and Instagram, I feel like LinkedIn, for the caliber of people that I am looking to connect with, has actually been a really, really great place to plug into and kind of throw that corporate feeling out the window a little bit of like there is a level of professionalism, but we can also connect, collaborate, and grow in this kind of like professional fun space.
Right, right. It's professional, and people always say it's B2B, but I always say it's H2H. It's human to
Mm.
human. And gone
Ooh.
are the days for the press releases, and gone are the days where it is just a place to find a job. Mind you, there are job seekers and there are hiring managers on LinkedIn, but it's not the only thing to do there. There are so many more opportunities for people on LinkedIn than there has ever been. And it's all about getting to know people and getting to really, I really think it's a big networking event. It's a really, really big networking event. And it's all about building relationships now more than ever.
Oh, I really agree with that. And I love the human to human. That's really awesome because I do
Mhm.
feel like that I have a lot more engaging conversations versus just the like, oh, congratulations or yay for you,
Right,
right? Like
right.
is
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
really nice because then you really can get to know people. And I wanted to backtrack a little bit, you know, when you were talking about in the beginning how you were sending all these scripted DMs and you were like, you know, nobody knows me, nobody, you know, likes me, nobody can trust me. And oh my goodness, can we just like, can I just sing for that for a second? Because I still get, you know, of course there's always going to be those types of people that, you know, do the cold DMs and stuff. But it is so frustrating because
yeah.
I really like, I literally, funny enough, I've actually asked people that have cold DM me, I'm like, do you really get clients this way? I don't ever
Yes,
really get
I've
an
asked that
answer.
too. Hmm.
But I really
Yep.
like my thinking process is like, who really taught you that like that is the way to gain business especially with I've become a little pickier with like who I allow to friend me on LinkedIn where before it was like, oh, this is awesome, hit the button, this is great. And then what I
Yeah.
noticed was is you hit the button and they would say one thing about like a post or like the caption on a post and not even actually be able to connect and then just go right into like this hard sale of like, by the
Yep.
way, did you know blah 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 blah. So like I've
Yep.
started to be really picky about who I let in. And I've actually, and I know a lot of people may think this is harsh to me. I feel like it's a boundary. But for those that, send you the little message as they're waiting for you to accept them, and they're like, oh, I'm so excited to be a part of your network. Okay, well, first off, I've learned a lot of that's baloney from a lot of
Hmm.
people, unfortunately. But I literally, before I actually respond and allow them to be a friend, I will respond back. And I will say, I have like a little thing that I plug in every time, and it's something along the lines of, I'm so excited to get to know you. I love being with like-minded people, so long as they aren't turning around and cold selling me in my
Good
DMs as soon as I
job.
hit
Good
like.
job.
And I've actually had a few people like not reply back. And I'm like, okay, well then I
Uh-huh.
don't need
Because
to.
then they know, then you know that there was a pitch coming too. That was
Right,
good.
right.
My way of doing this is not so much of connecting with every single person that sends me a connection request, but I follow first
Ooh.
because LinkedIn limits the number of connections you have. And I do not need to send a direct message to every single person. So I always follow first before I connect
Oh, I
and kind
love
of test the
that.
waters.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that, it's not as much like I have had some people reach out that are like, hey, we have, like 20, 30 connections, and I figured I should reach out to you. I get that
Right, right,
occasionally.
right.
But I don't see that happening as much as like Facebook, where Facebook's like, I bet you know this person.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't
Yeah.
see that as much with LinkedIn. But what I'm really interested in as well, since you are the expert of this, and I know that LinkedIn has kind of become the space for coaches and consultants and ways to connect and get to know people a little bit more versus just a Facebook profile.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about how you write your bio, your about section, and things like that. What could you say is some of like the important things to know when it comes to like your LinkedIn profile, especially if you're like, let's say just hopping on there, you don't have a lot of people that you're following or that you have connections with, like where do you start? Because I feel like the whole profile section of LinkedIn can be a little bit overwhelming because there are
Yeah.
so many pieces to it.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of pieces, and the whole goal. with your profile should be to stand out and not blend in. There is 1 billion people on LinkedIn, and a smaller percentage of that who are actually active on LinkedIn, as opposed to the ones that are not regularly checking their accounts. And really the goal with the profile, each piece of it, whether it's the about section, whether it's the banner, should be how can I stand out from everyone else who does what I do? Because honestly, if you were to put in some job titles, account executive or project manager or doctor, whatever, just pick one, you'll find that there are millions of people that are currently using those exact words in their LinkedIn, whether it's in their headline or any section of their profile. And so the goal is to stand out, because what makes this person so much different than this person? So there has to be some differentiator in your headline, in multiple aspects of your headline.
Okay, that makes
headline and
sense.
profile. Profile is what I meant to say.
Okay. And then, so do you consider, because you always see people that have up in that top section of like the different things that they do, right? I'm an author, I'm a coach, I'm this, and this. So you're saying that like that kind of needs to have a little bit of flair to it to kind of make you stand out.
Right. And you should know your goal for LinkedIn before you're even going to work on your profile. Because if you're leading with things like dog mom or wine lover, that doesn't lead with the professional side of the things. It doesn't mean that you're not human. I mean, I can go back to that H2H. You can still showcase that human side, but lead with the main reason of why you're there, or else that will get buried in all of the other stuff. So, and those first 45 characters of your headline, they travel with you, regardless of what you're doing on LinkedIn. So it's super important to lead with, why am I here, at the beginning.
Oh, I love that. That's so smart. And you're right. It does. I think I'm just thinking about that as you said it, of like, okay, I remember when I'm like posting and then like once my comment's there, that like that section is actually there. I've never paid attention to that. Oh, I'm glad I just updated mine. No, check one off the box. So now I have another question then, because you have the about section, and I feel like the about section can be used in so many different ways. I've seen some people use it as kind of like a story of where they started, where they've come from, and like where they are now. I've seen some people use it a little bit more of like a professional bio, like they may give to, speaking events and stuff like that. But I'm curious your take on something like that when someone is trying to come up with something, or does it make sense just to like plug your bio in and like, ta-da, and that's the end of it?
I think that with the about section, if you go back to what it's called, that's where you need to start. Tell us about you. Tell us about why we should be paying attention to you. Tell us about why we should relate to you. Tell us about how we can get in contact with you if we want to outside of LinkedIn. Tell us about your story. Tell us about what you led to this. But I've seen it done all of these different ways, where some people end up using all of the real estate and some people use a much smaller piece of real estate. So don't feel like you need to write a whole novel if you can get and tick off all of the things on your list in a shorter amount of space. But keep in mind that we're online and we're scrolling. So you don't want to write big fat paragraphs because we're scrolling and we don't have a big fat piece of time to devote to reading it.
Yeah, that's very true. And I love that you made that statement. And I just kind of want to repeat that to everyone as well, is like, just because you have that amount of characters doesn't mean that you need to use all of those characters. If you're able to condense it and make it shorter, and that still fills all of the slots that you're looking to fill, then by all means do that. I love that you said that, because I feel like a lot of times we look at other people's stuff, we get caught up in what everybody is doing or what other people have said that you should do. And then we're like, oh my gosh, so if I only do a paragraph and a half, that's not enough. There's no way anybody's going to understand or know what I'm doing. And so it's like we almost start grasping for additional things just to make it feel like it's the same as everybody else's. So I love that you like really brought that to the forefront to like pay attention to, because like you said in the beginning, you want to stand out in LinkedIn. And to be completely honest, I feel like if you can condense it and have your story and your stuff a little bit shorter, I'm going to pay attention to that a little bit more because I am that scroller where I'm like, I will read the first few lines and not hit the see more button if it doesn't sound interesting. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
everybody. I
Yeah.
just
Speaking
am.
of the see more, here's something too that I tell my clients. The whole goal with the start of the about section is to hook them in, just
Mm,
like the start of a piece of content. You want to grab their attention. And if you're shouting from the rooftops, look at me, I'm awesome, pay attention to me, will they though? The start of that about section should be more like, how can this person relate to me? How can this person solve my problem? That's more to go into the beginning of it. And then you can get into a little bit of your background. But the beginning, your whole goal is to click see more. So you gotta kind of get their attention and ask them a question, say something that is super relatable right at the beginning.
that makes a lot of sense. And I feel like even when you are looking to do a bio or something of the sort, if you are pitching to people, that's kind of what you're doing in the beginning of that, or you should be, in my personal opinion. You right, you're kind of drawing them in with your story and either a piece of relatability or something that they're like, wait, I have to know more, and they
Right,
want to feel like they need to read the rest of it.
right, right.
So I
Get their
love that.
attention. And it doesn't have to be all about you at the beginning of that.
I love that. Thank you. We need that. I feel like we all need that reminder. Because some bios get so complicated. And like, it's funny enough, I was redoing mine since I restructured my company and moved more into this motivational and MC speaking piece. And I really struggled with my bio because I had a really hard time separating myself. And people are like, oh, read it as if you're in third person. And I'm like, I don't know how to read me in third person. But it makes a lot of sense when you say, to make that it's not necessarily all about you, but it is about that relatable story piece. It is
Yes.
something that kind of draws people, and people are looking for support and collaboration, or that feeling that like they're not the only one that's been through something. And I really do believe that we are looking for more of like leading with that and then filling all the blanks in. And then you can talk about some of your accolades and the other pieces versus kind of like the opposite, which I feel like LinkedIn might have been a little bit more in that direction years ago and was a little bit more
Mhm.
corporate feeling.
Yep, yep. And gone are the days where it's super corporate now. Like there's just they're regular humans on LinkedIn having conversations, and that's what makes it pretty awesome.
Yeah. And you know what? I even love the groups now that they're doing that you can join, which is similar to Facebook, but I feel like there's a lot more to it in what I have seen in some of the ones that I've joined, where you're learning a little bit more. People are giving a little bit more. The conversations are a little bit deeper. And I don't feel like they're as salesy as sometimes some of your Facebook groups can
Right.
get. Have
Yep.
you seen any improvements when it comes to like, the groups settings? I know you could do LinkedIn Lives now. I know that, what is the other one? Oh goodness gracious.
The
Um,
collaborative articles are still there
maybe.
too. Yep,
Oh,
collaborative
are they?
articles. Hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
You
I
don't
wasn't
get the
aware of that.
badges. They're going to stop the badges now for collaborative articles, so there won't be the orange and yellow top in whatever it is. But the whole thing with groups is it really should be like a community. If it feels like a community, then you're in a good group. And there are some groups on LinkedIn where it's still spammy and it's still not where you want to be. But if it feels like a community, hang out there and give it some time for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Now I have a question because I know that I've had people ask me this before, and I'm not a huge LinkedIn understanding person. It's still learning. But one of the things that I've noticed is, especially those that are entrepreneurs, we have generally like our information, our profile, all of our stuff. And then, at that top right-hand corner, you've got the information for like maybe a college that you went to, and then probably more than likely your business is listed as well. And I've heard really conflicting things. And so I'm curious because, Facebook has the same thing. You have a personal profile and you have a business profile. And I've seen that you can do the same thing on LinkedIn, but Do you really feel that it makes a difference? Like if your business has its own, so you're able to tie it to your profile or?
I think when it comes to company pages, that it's important to have one
Okay.
for the purpose of making sure that people understand what the company does. And if there's new updates, there's events, there's all of the different company news. But people do business with people. And so if you are a solopreneur, having a company page is essential, and organically send them to that company page. And what I mean by that is you can tag your company page in a comment, you can tag your company page in a post, you can and then when it comes to actually big news surrounding the company, that's when you can actually post on the company page. And they can be shared both ways too.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, that makes a lot of sense because I kind of feel like that is what Facebook was attempting to do with their business page. But in my
Yeah,
personal opinion, I feel like the
yeah,
business page is just like null and void.
right.
Like it's just, it's not in the algorithm. Nobody's on that profile to find it. And so I thought that was really interesting with LinkedIn of like, even though it's technically a company profile, it kind of fits in if you're still following it
Yes,
versus Facebook, where like you literally have to switch to be on the business profile to even see
right.
what's going on.
Yep,
Okay, that makes
yep.
a lot of sense. Well, guess
Mhm.
what I need to do now, people? Um, Deanna didn't know this was going to be for me as well. So now I would love to know if there are any secrets or things on LinkedIn that maybe people are not aware of that they should be utilizing on their profile or on their page or just in LinkedIn in general.
There's quite a few, and I don't know if you have enough time. But the first thing is that people should think of their profile as the first impression that people are getting, or the billboard, you could say and or, because the profile is like walking into that networking event and having a smile on your face and getting ready, rather than going into a networking event and being grumpy or angry or mixed emotions. They want to see the best side of you on LinkedIn. So that's what your profile picture should be, is the best that you can bring. And then the billboard comes in with every single thing that you're putting on that profile is your billboard. But then the next two parts of the triangle that I created is to get cars driving by that billboard. So you can
Mm.
have a really awesome profile, but if no one sees it, then it's just a really, really nice looking profile that's never going to get any views. So that's where the kind of similarities are between a profile and a billboard. So that's why having conversations in the comments and posting content are crucial to making it work, because the profile is just the first step. It's the concrete that everything is built on, but the other things are just as important. And then the whole goal is, once I teach people that triangle strategy, it's the whole goal is to get LinkedIn working while you're not there. So they get the best of what you have to tell them. And you don't have to sit there and babysit it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because nobody has that time. So
No, at all, at
yeah.
all. I love that. That makes so much sense too, as far as like really using it as kind of like your billboard. And I think about that too, because even with people that I have connected with, I've started asking for the LinkedIn profile. I want to see
Yep.
that. I want to read through that because Facebook, even the business, like there's just not enough information. There's not enough characters for you to be able to really share anything. Like you really just kind of look at the banner and a profile picture and hope that that gives you some inclination, unless you
Right.
want to scroll through their posts. And to be completely honest, most of us are not going to do that.
No.
I mean, it just is what it
Yeah.
is, right? So I love that, and that makes a lot of sense. And I do think that it still brings in a piece of professionalism into what it is that you do. Even if you share personal and things like that, you're still highlighting that you are a business owner. And I think that it's a really great
Mhm.
place to take people to, just to have kind of an overall view of that as they're scrolling through all the
Right.
things.
Right. Right. They need to get to know you. And then with the conversations that you're having, they go over to your comments and then they get to like you if they're following you enough. And then with your content, they get to trust you. So that's the know, like, and trust. That's really what it's all about. So they all have to be working consistently. Consistency is that fourth piece. I always tell people that if you're going to build that triangle into a pyramid, consistency has to be that fourth piece. So you just have to, I started creating content 6 years ago, and I started with videos, and it was 2 videos a week. And I kept that up for over a year. And I really think it had something to do with my growth, because I didn't give people a chance not to hear from me. I just kept showing up, and I wasn't paying any attention to the numbers. I just knew what I needed to do. So you just got to keep your eye on the ultimate goal.
I love that. And, you were talking earlier about, making sure that you are commenting on posts, and the way and from my understanding, I'd love for you to clarify this, because, I've had a lot of people that are like, oh, I just don't understand LinkedIn and why it's better. But from my understanding, when you comment on Facebook, like, yay, they may end up show up in your algorithm or something. But from my understanding, when you're commenting on the LinkedIn platform, it's really actually kind of putting you in front of other people from that. Am I getting that right?
It's a spider web effect. So you comment, and then the second degree connections of that person see it, and the third degree connections of that person see it. And so your comment goes out to multiple levels of people, as opposed to just reacting, and they see that you gave a thumbs up. And how does that start conversation? That doesn't increase the like factor. So really talking in your comments like you would in person is super important, because that's how you can really generate that like factor from people that can relate to you.
I love that. Now I have a question, because I've heard a lot of people talk about the featured section that is on there, and I'm all kinds of confused about this. And I've had quite a few people ask me, and I'm like, I can't help you. I know what other people have talked about it. But I've heard of people using it in like so many different forms and in situations, like from podcasts that they've guested on to articles that they've been a part of. What would you say is probably one of the best ways to utilize that section on your profile if you're looking to kind of bring in more credibility?
You have to make sure that you emphasize what is the most important. For example, this just came out, and I'm going to put a link on there in order to purchase it. It is a collaborative book. So I'm one of the authors of this collaborative book. So that would be something that you should put on there to make it easy for people to, it can go into my about, it can go into my featured. So it's got to be in multiple places. But really the featured should be highlighting the best of what you have to offer. If there's a podcast that you were on and you're really proud of it, put it in your featured section. If there's a newsletter that you want people to subscribe to, put the latest edition in your featured section. So, but one thing is, I try not to overload it, because people can only scroll so much. So I try on my side just to keep it to a handful of items so that it doesn't become too much.
That makes a lot of sense. And that was going to be my next question, because I know that it could get really overloaded and there's not really a lot of space to be able to see anything. So then you have to click on it to like really open that section up. And sometimes that in itself can be overwhelming. I know for me, if I see like 50 different things, I'm like, okay, and we're done. I looked at the first 2 and I'm going to go on to the next section.
It's a lot.
So I love that you're saying to like really use it as a highlighting space and a space to continually update some of the newer things that you're doing that you feel like is really important, or maybe really touches on your business or whatever it is that you're wanting to share.
Right. Yep. Absolutely.
That makes a lot of sense. So I have to ask you then, I know that you used LinkedIn years ago for sales and everything. How do you feel like it has shifted in how you use it in your business now? And why did you decide to stay on that platform?
When I started on LinkedIn, it was 2008, and it was really the start of all of the platforms. Like, it was the start of Facebook, early days of Facebook, early days of Twitter, early. I mean, even Pinterest was something that I got on back then. And it has really evolved over the time because it was originally rolled out as more of a job seeker vehicle. And it's really, if you look at LinkedIn as a big networking event instead of a job seeking vehicle, instead of a sales vehicle, instead of a corporate vehicle, then you're going to spend so much more time on it. And it's really where I have gotten to know so many people from around the world at one place. And other people have gotten to know me. And then the like factor is ticked up. And then they start to trust me. And I get messages inbound saying, what does it look like to work with you? So it's really just, it seems to be the place to really get to know people and really manifest everything that you want to achieve with your business. And that's the reason why I'm on it. It's just really, it's a really great place to be.
It almost sounds like the LinkedIn, outside of all the platforms, has really been the one to continue to evolve. Whereas
Yes.
I feel like Facebook tried, and now they're just trying to take a hold of everything. But I do feel like that LinkedIn is evolving. Like, it started as one, it's added some more. It realized the shift in what was going on from people working at home to leaving their jobs and now starting their own thing. And I feel like that is the platform that really has kind of kept the professionalism and built onto it to allow people to continue in the space that they see people going. And I think that that's one thing that I personally feel like Facebook and Instagram have struggled a little bit with, because it was the scrolling platforms. It was the get out of my head, get out of the things that are driving me crazy and just look at stuff platforms. And while I'm seeing, some business there and some people do great on both of those platforms, I do feel like LinkedIn really has kind of elevated the bar for what some people might potentially be looking for in that regard.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like what LinkedIn offers can be so much more robust than any of those other platforms. I mean, the live events, the audio events, sending audio messages in direct message. There's just a lot of potential for a lot of awesome things that you could do with it that not as many people know. I mean, the thing about audio messages on LinkedIn is it can allow people to be more human. I can send you audio messages back and forth, and it's just about pressing the microphone and people actually hearing your voice and not guessing that it's AI or something else that you're getting a message from. It's not automation. They're actually hearing your voice. So it's all about tapping into what makes it more human and how can you be more human on it in a world where everything is becoming robotic.
Everything is becoming, it really is. And I have to say that the audio piece is one of my favorite. Of course, I'm a huge fan of that on anything, including my text messages. I feel so sorry for some of my coaching friends because I'll send them like a 10-minute message and I'm like, I'm so sorry. But it probably avoids an hour-long conversation with me. So it's probably better. But I do love that piece in there. And that's one of my favorite ways to be able to communicate. And I just actually recently found out that LinkedIn did that. I think you sent me a message and I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know it could do this, which was really awesome. But I do agree with that. I feel like that allows a lot more people to feel like they are connecting. And I know that LinkedIn is a little bit more stringent on like not allowing the automated messages and not allowing, like a lot of people to be in your stuff that's doing it for you and pre-posting and things like that, which can be a pain for some people. But I also think that it shows the level that they have behind them of how they want people to continue to communicate versus heavily relying on technology. And I get that delegation and stuff is needed to some degree. And we are still looking for a likeness. We are still looking for a humanness, like you said. And I do feel like this platform is kind of really held on to that for what it does allow.
I think so. I think that there's plenty of people that are still using automation on it, but LinkedIn is trying to make it all about the people. There's a lot of efforts behind the scenes to make it all about the people, hence the live events, hence newsletters, hence there's different things that you can do on LinkedIn that you can't do on other platforms. So that's where you need to differentiate yourself, because otherwise we'll go back to the beginning. You're just blending in.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I feel like I could ask you 10,000 more questions, but that's okay. We'll just leave it for people to be able to find you and connect with you and just hire you and get their LinkedIn set up the way it needs to be. I definitely think that even if you are on the other platforms, I do think that LinkedIn is a really great platform to include. I am not for being on 50,000 different platforms, but I do feel like if you were going to choose your top two or three, and you're looking for a level of professionalism and people that are actually connecting with each other, and like you said, that level of humanness, I definitely think that LinkedIn should be involved in that. And I'm the say, like, I have three main platforms, and that is the end. I don't touch TikTok. I'm not on Twitter. I'm not on Threads. All the other crazy stuff that's out there. I also don't have time for it. And I feel like that also thins it out so much when I could really find my audience and hyper focus. And I've actually found a really great audience on LinkedIn. So I have two questions for you as we come to a close. My first one is for those that are looking to build connections on LinkedIn and they have no clue who to start, or they just know that, let's say they're looking to find event planners. What would you suggest would be a really great way for them to start connecting with people and then reaching out so they can start building their network?
I think the best way to start building relationships with people in those areas that you want to is to start commenting on their posts. Because if you just blindly send a connection request, they're not going to know, like you had said and earlier, that you don't know where that person's coming from, and you're all ready for a sales pitch, because we've all been pitched so many times. So commenting means that you support them, and they keep seeing you come up in the comments. And then next thing you know, you're sending them a direct message, and it makes so much sense to have a conversation because you're already having conversations in the comments. So I would say that's the best way, is to try and find where those conversations are. And one of the things that I teach is strategic conversation. And it's essentially like walking into a networking event and seeing lots of people talking, and imagine that there are signs hanging over the conversations telling you what the topic of conversation is. Some people have even said, well, what if it's digital signs? I'm like, that's fine. I was thinking poster board, but that's fine. And what I say is going to those conversations because you know that you can contribute. You know that those are your people. So that's one of the things that I teach as we're going through the whole triangle strategy, is strategic conversation.
Oh, I love that. I love that. That makes so much sense. And what a great way to connect and see how it goes, and then making the decision on who you're wanting to connect with. I love that. Guess what? I'm implementing that one. As we come to a close, Deanna, again, I can't thank you enough for being a part of the podcast. I have one more question for you, and that is, do you happen to have a quote or a piece of advice that you would like to leave the audience with?
I think that the best quote when it comes to LinkedIn is Nike's, which is just do it. Don't overthink it. Just do it. There's no excuses. I've heard them all. I've heard all of the excuses. I've heard I cannot sell. Well, you can, and you can sell. If you can sell the pen, then you can sell yourself, because no one else is going to sell you if you do not sell you. So I think just do it. Don't overthink it. Just jump in, because we're all here to embrace you when you do.
Yes, and I love that you said that. There's a lot more people that are willing to embrace than what we even understand. And that's been, I think, one of the beauties of jumping into this space and realizing how many people really do want to see other people succeed. And that's so different than what I feel like I experience in the corporate world, and what a lot of people that I know I've talked with that have transitioned out have felt. So thank you so much for that, because I think we need that subtle reminder every once in a while. Deanna, do us all a favor then. Tell everybody, where can they find you? How can they connect with you? How can they be in your world?
Deanna Russo on LinkedIn, and connect with me there. Tell me that you heard me on Kat's podcast, of course. LeverageUpLLC.com is my business website. And you can even find me on Facebook. Deanna Russo, Leverage Up is the way to find me on Facebook too. So I am a little bit out there, and it's really just about getting to know me. And you can get to know me through the website. You can get to know me through LinkedIn, and then I'm happy to have a conversation anytime.
Well, thank you so much, Deanna. I love all of your information. I feel like I learned so much. So I can't wait for everybody else to have a chance to hear this and take notes and implement these super simple pieces just to get them started.
It is super simple. That's why I like to keep it simple.
Thank goodness. Well, thank you so much again for being a part of the podcast today. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
You are so welcome. And to everybody else out there, don't worry. We'll have all of that information in the show notes. We'll make it super simple for you to be able to connect with Deanna and follow her and reach out to her and have her really help you with your strategy on LinkedIn. If you've not been on it, or if you've been kind of toying with it, I really suggest that you take a look at what some of the other people are putting out there. It really is an interesting professional human community that I have found on there. And so take a shot. Why not? Right? And see what happens. You never know. And definitely, like Deanna said, keep it simple. Don't complicate it. One step at a time. And until next time, do one thing positive for someone each and every day and see the difference that it makes in your life. So I will catch you soon. Thank you so much for tuning in to Real Chat with Kat today, where real stories meet real solutions. If you loved today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review on Apple, and share this with someone who may also need to hear this as well. Let's also keep the conversation going. Follow me on socials at The Lotus Effect, connect with our incredible guests, and remember, you are never alone. Your story matters, and you have the ability and the power to rewrite it. You always have a choice. Until next time, stay strong, stay inspired, and keep showing up as the incredible, unstoppable